we were discussing how to fetch the details from the database by making use of a result set, and how to fetch the data of all the columns using a result set metadata. Okay, and we use result set metadata only when we are fetching the details from all the columns, and when we don't know the column names or column IDs. Okay, and that's what we have discussed yesterday. And the next thing that we are going to discuss is updatable results. As we are discussing result set, it's better to discuss updatable result set right now, so that you can understand it better. Okay, updatable result set. What is the updatable result set? Okay, and before discussing updatable result set, we'll discuss the versions of JDBC. Okay, the versions of JDBC start with 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. And the latest version of JDBC is 4.0. The latest version of JDBC is 4.0. And in 1.0, the result set metadata was not there. That metadata was introduced, result set metadata was introduced in 2.0. And till 2.0, result set metadata was introduced in 2.0. Okay, that's one thing. And till 2.0, the result set was not updatable. We cannot update the records using result set. We can just fetch the records using result set up to 2.0. But in 3.0, a new feature came that we can update the records using the result set. That is an updatable result set. Right from JDK 3.0, we can update the records in the table using the result set. That is updatable result set. Okay, we'll see how we can develop a updatable result set. But that was an enhancement in JDBC 3.0. These are not the versions of JDK, these are the versions of JDBC. And in JDBC 4.0, there are some new data types added. Some new data types are being added in JDBC 4.0. The new database are being added in JDBC 4.0. As well as the main enhancement in JDBC 4.0 is auto driver registration. The main enhancement in JDK 4.0 is auto driver registration. This is the main enhancement in JDK 4.0. Auto driver registration. Auto driver registration. That means we need not to register the driver. If you use JDK 4.0, we need not to register the driver using class.forName. We need not to register the driver using class.forName like this. We need not to register the Oracle driver like this. Okay, we need not to execute class.forName in JDBC 4.0. In JDBC 4.0, this step can be eliminated. The registration of driver, that step, the first step can be eliminated. Okay, this driver manager in JDK 4.0, what it will do means it will automatically fetch the corresponding driver class from the class path. In JDBC 4.0, the driver manager itself will fetch the appropriate driver class from the class path. In JDBC 4.0, the driver manager itself will fetch the appropriate driver class from the class path. We need not to explicitly mention that. We need not to explicitly mention that using class.forName. The driver manager itself will automatically fetch the appropriate driver from the class path. This is a major enhancement in JDBC 4.0. Even though automatic driver registration is there in JDBC 4.0, it's a preferable thing to register the driver using class.forName. Even though automatic driver registration, automatically the driver manager will fetch the appropriate driver class from the class path. Okay, that facility is possible in JDBC 4.0. But even though that facility is possible, still the best way of doing is register the driver. Just because in the class path multiple drivers might be available. Let's consider like the JDB Oracle 4 type of driver may be available in multiple jars, x.jar or y.jar and z.jar. But from which jar we need to pick, which class we need to pick, that should be a little bit identical. So always, even in the fourth type of, even if we are using JDBC 4.0, it's better to go for explicit registration of a driver. But it's not mandatory in JDBC 4.0. It's not mandatory in JDBC 4.0. Driver registration step is not mandatory in JDBC 4.0. And are we installing any explicit software for making use of JDBC? Are we making use of any explicit? Are we installing any explicit software, or are we adding any third-party jar files to make use of JDBC? Let's consider like statement, prepare statement. All these things are there. Okay, these are the entities that come under JDBC. To make use of those entities, are we using in third-party jar files? No, they are implicit. They are automatically present in JDK software. JDBC is not a separate entity, it will be inbuilt in JDK. JDBC will be inbuilt inside JDK. Okay? It's not a separate entity, it will be inbuilt inside JDK. Now, JDK 1.4 has JDBC 2.0. JDK 1.4 has JDBC 2.0 and JDK 1.5 has JDBC 3.0 and the latest version JDK 1.6 has JDBC 4.0. In general, zero after a dot will be pronounced as O in US and UK. If it is 2.00, they will call as we call it as 2.00, but US and UK people, they will call it as 2.00. So we should, while talking with the clients or something else, somebody else from US or UK, it should be better to have their conveniences. So if you call it 2.00, then it will be a standard way. Okay? So in JDK 1.6, okay, JDK 1.6, we have JDBC 4.0. Let me see what is the version installed in our machine. What is the version? the version is 1.5, that means 5.0, and the subversion is 11. But is the version JDBC 4.0 available with us in the machine? Is the JDBC 4.0 available with us in the machine? Is the version JDBC 4.0 available with us? No, just because we have installed JDK 5.0. If it is JDK 5.0, we have only 3.0 of JDBC. So, if you want to have the 4.0 version of JDBC, we should install JDK 1.6. Then, just after going home, install JDK 1.6, uninstall JDK 1.5, install JDK 1.6, and try without driver registration, it will work. Okay? So, that's how it will be. Each and every JDK version will have a inbuilt version of JDBC. JDK 1.6 has inbuilt version of JDBC 4.0. JDK 1.5 has an inbuilt JDBC, that is 3.0. So currently we are using JDBC 3.0 for our application. So this auto driver registration facility is not there in our current application. But we have an updatable result set, just because updatable result set is an enhancement in 3.0. Now let us see what is updatable result set and how we can update the result set. Okay, once we got the result set up to JDBC version 3.0. Okay, up to the JDBC version 3.0. Okay, we used to whenever we want to update some details, we used to go for prepare statement. Okay, statement or prepare statement. But once we got the result set, based on the values on the result set, if you want to update something into the database, we need not to go for two steps. Earlier what we used to do means, we used to fetch the details. Based on the details that we have fetched, we will apply some business logic and we used to update the result set. We used to update the details in the database using another SQL query. We used to fetch the details. Based on the fetched details, we used to write some business logic, and as per the business logic, we used to update the details into the database through another query. But using updatable result set, what happens? We'll fetch the details, write the business logic, and update the information in the database using the result set itself. So another query is not required. Understood? So for that purpose, we use the updatable result set, and this is an enhancement in JDBC 3.0, and we'll see how to create a result set which is updatable. Okay, by default a result set is not updatable. By default a result set is not updatable. By default the result set is read only. By default the result set is read only. By default the result set is read only. It's not updatable. Now, this was an earlier example where I have used prepare statement for updating the records. Let me use the normal statement itself. Let me demonstrate a simple example which uses the result set. Just I am fetching 3 records. This was the earlier example that we have done. To fetch the details from the database into a result set, and we iterate the result set, and we in the while loop we get the details from the result set for each and every column, first column, second column, and third column. Okay, this is the result set example. Let me try to compile and execute this. Here. Let me compile the application. Let's compile both the classes. Sorry, it was lowercase. So it is fetching all the details from the database. We have 100 records from the database. Sorry, in the table HCU person. So it has fetched all the 100 records from the table. Okay. Now, what my requirement is I need to create an updatable result set. Now, let me describe the table. Where it is? SQL plus. Now, what it is? Null something, some description, name is something and type is something. Now, one more thing, like all of you know what is a primary key in a database? Yes? Yes or no? No. Everybody? Two of them doesn't know what is a primary key. So, I'll explain in brief what is a primary key. Okay, basically there is a concept of constraints in a database. Constraints means it will apply some rules on the database records. Okay, so we have different types of constraints where we call them as not null constraint, okay, unique key constraint, primary key constraint, and check constraint. These are the four types of constraints available in SQL. These are called as constraints. These constraints will apply some rules on the columns that we insert into rules on the records that we insert into a database. These constraints will apply some rules for the data or for the records that we enter into the database. So, not null constraint for a column will apply a rule that that column should not be null. Okay? Not null constraint will apply a rule that that column should not be null. Let's consider like I have a column which is not null. If you insert null values into a column which is not null, then that query will give error. It will not be executed. Let's consider like there is a column. We have three columns. Let's consider like person underscore now at present it is not null. Okay, if it is not null, it will display null as true, but it is not null. Okay, so now what happens is person underscore name is nullable. Now it is nullable just because if it is not null, here it will display true. Person underscore name is nullable. Let's consider like if person underscore name is not null field or not null column, then what happens is we cannot enter. Let's consider like if we are inserting one record, insert into HC underscore person. Values 222. Now if I insert 222 some age. Now am I inserting the value into person underscore name? Yes. In this statement, am I putting any value into person underscore name? No, I am putting values person ID and age. So one row is created. Let me select the value. Select star from HC underscore person values. Person where person underscore ID equal to 222. Okay. Now what is the value? Person ID. Name is actually null. It displays as blank, but it is actually null. Okay. And age is 25. So now if we insert a null value, if you don't insert any value, the default value is null. And if we insert a null value into the not null column, this is a nullable column. At present, person name is a nullable column. So even though if we don't give any value, it is accepting. But if person name is a not null column, then what happens? It will not execute the query successfully. This query will not be executed successfully. Just because person name is a not null column, but we are not giving any value to the person name. So it will not execute that query successfully. Understood? That's how it will be. That's how not null column will work. Okay? And
so we have to put this constant insert means that not null constant we can apply on the insert query or select.
See, not null queries will be applied when we try to manipulate the data. The constraints will be applied only when we manipulate the data. When we select the data, what is the use of constraints?
Update query.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Manipulating the data means either inserting or updating.
There is a real insert. How we can use that constant.
Okay, how we can create a non-null constant on a column? By using alter table syntax, alter table something add constraint something.
Like we are showing that primary constant like.
Yeah, like a primary key constraint, we can add a not-null constraint also. And the next constraint is unique key. Unique key constraint means the value of that column should be unique throughout the table. Let's consider like if we have select age from now, do we have any unique? Do we have any duplicate records here? In the yes, but it's not displayed correctly. So we don't have distinct age, but if you see here, we have 3 records. Like 100 is a record where the person ID is 100. Here also the person ID is 100. And if you see here in the first record also, the person ID is 100. That means there are 3 records with the person ID 100. Okay? But if this person ID is a unique column, then at maximum a value exists only for one row. Each and every row value will be unique. Okay? If the column is unique, if the column has a constraint unique, then the value in that column will be unique throughout the table. Okay? If the column has a constraint as unique, then the value in the column will be unique throughout the table. Let's consider like already we have a ID, person underscore ID with 100. If we again insert another record whose person ID is 100, then it will give throw error. Okay? The column value should be unique throughout the table. And if they now some of the interviewers asking like will be asking like there is a unique column, unique key column, and the column is a nullable column. It is a unique column and it is a nullable column. Okay? Now can we add null values to that column? A column is there, let's consider person ID. Person ID is a unique but nullable. Now can we add null values to that? Yes. Unique key need not to be not null mandatorily. Unique key column can be nullable, but at maximum only one null should be there. At maximum only one null value should be there. Unique key column is nullable, but at maximum only one null should be there. If we add another null value, then it will be an error. Unique key column is nullable, but at maximum only one null should be there. We can make a unique key column as nullable, it's possible. But even in that scenario, only one null value is allowed. Only one row with null value is allowed. Okay? And that's the difference between unique key and primary key. In case of primary keys, null values are not allowed. In case of unique keys, it will be unique as well as one null value is allowed. If the column is a primary key, then it should be unique, at the same time null value is also not allowed. If it is a unique key, the data will be unique in the column, the value in the column will be unique throughout the table, but it can be nullable, one null value is allowed. But if it is a primary key, null value is not allowed. All the values should be unique, at the same time null value should not be allowed. If we try to insert a null value into a primary key column, it will not accept. Now, So why it was here? I was trying the same query. I was trying to execute alter table h_person modify age to unique. I was executing the same query earlier also, but now it is altered. Earlier it was not altered, just because if you want to change the properties or if you want to change the structure of any column, there should not be any data in that column. That's a very important thing in any SQL server. If you want to change the structure of any column, then there should not be any data in that column. If you want to change the structure of any column, there should not be any data in that column. So if there is a data in a column, then we cannot change the structure of the column. Structure means either changing the name of the column, or changing the data type of the column, or changing the constraints on the column. We cannot change anything, any structure of the column. Structure of the column in the sense changing the name of the column, or data type of the column, or constraints on the column. We cannot change the structure if the column has data. So what I have done is, I have deleted all the rows from the table, then I have executed the query so that it worked. So now there is a unique key constraint on age. Let me try to insert two records.
So if we have a data, so previously we have a data and we want to change the constant of super, and then you said that we don't have that much data on that. Then sir, if we are deleting all the rows and we are losing our data.
That's what how we'll do is, that's what I wanted to discuss in the batch updates. Okay, how we'll do in that scenario is, we'll take a temporary column, we'll push all the data from this column to temporary column, we'll drop the column, we'll create a new column with the changed structure, and then we'll populate the data from this column to that column, and we'll drop the temporary column. That's how we'll do. Okay, and yes, we have inserted one record. Let me insert another record with 200. Ramesh, and the ID and name is changed, but the age is the same. But what it tells, unique key constraint, something is violated, just because age is being violated. Understood? That's how it will behave. So since age is 27, that is already existing, okay, we cannot violate that. Okay, that's how it will behave. That's how the unique key will behave. Now let me delete the data from the h_person, and let me make ID as primary key. I'm making ID as primary key. Okay, table is being altered. Now if we try to describe the table, let me describe the table. Is person ID null? Person ID is a not null column now. By default, a primary key column will be a not null column, just because primary key cannot accept null values. Okay, now let me try to insert the details. Let me delete the data. Let me delete the existing data. There are no records. Now let me insert the data. Okay. Let me insert name and age. Just I am inserting name and age. Okay. Now will it accept?
No.
Now person ID is a primary key column. Now will it accept? Yes or no? No, it will not accept. Just because cannot insert null into person ID. Telling like we could not able to insert a null value into a table HU person underscore person, the column person underscore ID, just because person underscore ID is a primary key column. Understood? So we cannot insert null values in the primary key column. So let me insert some data. It's inserted. Now 200 Ramesh 27 is not possible, just because now it is inserted, just because 27 is unique from 28. Okay, and 100 is unique from 200, and these ID values are not null. Okay, and this is how the primary key will work. We have seen unique key, primary key, and unique plus not null is equal to primary. That's we can tell. Okay, unique plus not null equal to primary key. Primary key has a both the features of unique as well as not null. Okay, and check is used to define a custom constraint. That means customize the logic for a constraint. That we will discuss. Check constraint will be used to describe a customized logic for that column. A customized constraint for that column. See, not null. It is a inbuilt constraint. It's an inbuilt behavior. If you want to go for a customized behavior for the constraint, let's consider like we have a column where age is there. We should tell that age should not be greater than 150. But that is not an inbuilt behavior in Oracle. Okay, if we enter the age, they may enter 1000, but entering 1000 as a age is not a valid thing. At maximum 150. So what we'll do? We'll keep a check constraint on the age column so that the age column value should not be greater than 150. So to have a customized logic on a constraint, we go for check. Okay? But it is not null, primary key, unique key. These are default or inbuilt behavior of the database server. But rather than going for that inbuilt behavior, if you want to go for customized logic for constraints, then we'll go for check. We'll see what is the syntax and structure of check and all. I have told the example of check. Like if you want to go for a age column where age should not be greater than 150, that's not an inbuilt database behavior. We should define that using check constraint. And the most important thing here is, if you want to go for an updatable result set, then the table should have a primary key column. If you want to go for a normal result set, primary key column is not required. But if you want to go for an updatable result set, then the table must have a primary key column. The first thing that we need to do is to make a column as a primary key. To make the table to contain a primary key. to make the table to contain a primary key. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is make the table to contain a primary key. And now, do we have a primary key on h_person? Yes, if we have this table has a primary key which is person ID. So it is a primary key. So earlier, in the earlier syntax, we could not able to delete. We could not able to make use of the result set as updatable result set on the table h_person, just because it did not have a primary key. But now, since h_person has a primary key, we can make use of this result set as an updatable result set. Okay, and by default the result set is not an updatable result set. The things that we need to do to make a result set as updatable result set are, the first step is to have a primary key for the table. Okay, we should have a primary key column in the table, otherwise it cannot be updatable. That's the first thing that we need to do. To make a result set updatable result set, the first thing that we need to do is to have a primary key column in the table. There should be a primary key column in the table. And the second thing is, there are two fields. While creating the statement itself, we should tell that this statement should be used for creating a updatable result set. While creating the statement object itself, we should specify this statement object is used to create an updatable result set. How we can specify that? Means, there are two fields that we need to pass. First is type scroll sensitive. Conquer updatable. These two fields should be passed while creating the statement object. Now let's consider like we have a result set. Let's consider like this is the result set. Okay, and if it is a normal result set which is not updatable, okay, we can scroll only from top to bottom. Okay, like a iterator, even result set can be scrolled from top to bottom, only in one direction and only once at maximum. Okay, do you have the knowledge of iterator, right? In a iterator, what we do? We scroll or we iterate from top to bottom only once in one direction, in a forward direction. In the same way, using result set also we can scroll only once at maximum in the forward direction. But if it is a type scroll sensitive, what happens is we can scroll the result set from top to bottom in any directions, in any number of times, or we can switch the positions also. Like first make it to point the first record, and next iteration make it to point the fourth record, like that. We can scroll the result set either in forward direction or reverse direction if it is type scroll sensitive. Okay? If we create a statement with type scroll sensitive, then we can scroll the result set in any direction, in forward direction or in reverse direction. So that's the type scroll sensitive. And conquer updatable means after fetching the result set, concurrently we can update the data in the table. Concur updatable means concurrently we can update the data in the table. Parallelly, concurrently means parallelly. Parallelly we can update the data into the table using the indicator concur updatable. So concur updatable indicates that the result set that we are creating using this statement can concurrently update the data. The result set that we create using this statement can concurrently update the data. Understood? So, using type scroll sensitive and concur updatable for creating a statement, we can make the result set as updatable result set. Now, the result set that we have created will be updatable result set. Now, let's first see the scrolling. How we can scroll from one record to another record. Then we can see how we can update or create the records. Okay? What are the operations that are possible? Either we can create a record using the result set, or we can update the record using the result set, or we can delete a record. Okay? First we see how to scroll the result set from one position to another position. Okay? In order to scroll the result set, we use methods absolute or relative. Let me insert some records into the table so that we can clearly discuss them. This I am inserting some records. Already 29 is there. So already 400 is there. So I have inserted some 5 records. Let me insert another record. So I have inserted some records into the database. Let me select. So how many records are there? Some 600 records, 6 records are there. Now let me try to scroll from one position to another position. Okay? In order to scroll from one position to another position, we use absolute. One of the ways is using absolute. Okay? One of the ways to scroll is using absolute. Okay? Let me scroll to third position. Let me scroll to third position. Let me scroll to third position. So let us see what happens. RS, right? RS dot absolute of 3. So let me try to compile the application. File, go to the classes, execute application. So, just let me clear the class. Why? Okay. There are no records. Okay. Sometimes it will not be flushed. If you want to flush the data, just we go for commit. Sometimes the data will not be flushed permanently into the database. So we go for commit to flush the data. Okay, now if you see here, we have some records. Now let me reword the things. I'm going for absolute of 3. Now if you select all the rows, what happens? 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 and 100. All the records are being fetched. Now what I'm doing is, I'm going for absolute of 3. Now let us see what happens. $500, 600, 100. That means, what are the records that are fetched? What are the records that are fetched? 500, 600, 100. Why these records are fetched means we are getting that or that absolute of 3. If we get an absolute of 3, the result set pointer will be at the 400 position. From 400, next and next will be fetched. Understood? See, we have the position. As per this order listed here, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Now, by default, the result set pointer will be before the first position. Now, what we do is, I am going for rs dot absolute of 3. Now, the result set will go to the specific position. What is the position? Third. 1, 2, 3. We go to the third position. So, from this, what we are doing? From this point, we are going for rs dot next. That means next and next. These 3 will be fetched. Understood? So that's how the absolute will work. It will move the result set pointer to a specific record. It will move the result set pointer to a specific record. So which record means as per the integer that we give. Now let's select these are the rows. It is moving the result set pointer to the specific row in the third position, just because we have given 3 here. Okay, and now what happens? What happens? Some exception will come. Just because we have only 6 records, but we are going to absolute of 10. So what is it doing? Is it giving any exception scenario? No. Okay. If the absolute position doesn't exist, okay, it will point the iterator pointer, or it will point the result set pointer to the last position. See, if the index of the absolute pointer exists, then it will point to the position. Let's consider like I have 100 records here. If we go for absolute of 10, it will point to the 10th record. But here the 10th record doesn't exist, so it will point to the last record. Then what happens? Will it execute the while loop? Just think it logically. Will it execute the while loop? Even it is 10, it will not execute the while loop, right? Even it is 10, it will not execute the while loop. Just because the pointer will be, let's consider like if I have given 10 and the records are 6, then the result set pointer will be at the last position. So it will not execute the while loop. If I give minus 10, what happens? Absolute of minus 10, what happens? No.
Say we give the exception.
No.
Or error.
No. It will not give exception or it will not give error. Just, sorry. What it is doing? It is printing all the values. Just because minus 10 doesn't exist. Since minus 10 doesn't exist, it will go to the nearest possible value. What is the nearest possible value? 0. In the result set, the nearest possible value is 1. So it will go to the first record and it will print all the records. See, if it is 10, 10 is not possible. So within the result set, it will go for the nearest possible value. For 10, the nearest possible value is the last one, 6. So it will go to 6. For minus 10, the nearest possible value is 1. So it will go to the first index and it will print all the records. Understood? Understood? What? Narpati? Understood? What you understood? What did you understand? Speak out, man. What did you understand? At least speak out in Telugu. What did you understand? Speak out. What, Shekhar? Just tell. What did you understand from here? Nearest value. So for 10, the nearest value is for the result set column, the indexes are 1 to 6. So for 10, the nearest value is 6. So it will reach 6. For minus 10, the nearest value is 1. So it will reach 1. That's how it will be. That's how the absolute will calculate. Okay? Try to speak out, man. If you are not speaking out, you can leave for your hometown. That's for sure. I'll speak it to the father. I'll ask you to get. I'll ask him to get you a job where you need not to speak, where you get salary even without speaking. In software industry, communication, speaking is the most important thing. If you are choosing software industry as your profession, you speak out, speak and speak. You should be talkative. That's the first qualification of a software engineer. If you have done 10 pies, you should show it as you have done 100 pies. Even if you have done 100 pies, if you are not able to show it as 10 pies, it's a waste of effort. Speaking is the most thing. Communication is the first step in the software industry. If you don't have that, and if you are not willing to get that, leave the industry. Go to a profession where speaking is not required, communication is not required. I want to be in a software profession? Do you want to be in a software profession? No? Don't you want to be in a software profession? Do you want to become a software engineer? Yes or no? Speak out. Yes. If you want to be in a software profession, first you should speak out. Okay? Your voice should be heard, whatever it might be. Whether it is right or wrong, your voice should be heard. You should make your voice loud. That's the first step in a software profession. Okay? Just speak out. Yes or no. It's not the way. Okay? I'm not teaching you any dumb lessons. Speak out. Yes or no. That's how. Okay? That's how you should respond. That's how you should respond initially. You should speak out. That's the first step in software industry. I'm not telling only to that guy, I'm telling to everybody. Just because this is the point, from this point you will be going to interviews, speaking out, speak out. The first thing that you need to do is speak out. Whether it is right or wrong. If it is wrong and the interviewer tells that you are wrong, you should justify yourself. Okay? The communication should be there with you. And now if you want to scroll to a specific absolute position, then we can go for absolute method. And even we can use a method relative. Let me go for absolute of 3, so it will be there in the third position. Let me go for relative of 1. That means from the current position. Relative means from the current position it will move forward or back. Relative means it will move one step forward, one record forward. So what is the current position when we execute the 40th statement? Third. So it will move one step forward. So it will go to the fourth position. Relative means with respect to the current position, it will move forward or backward. Absolute means going or shifting the position to a specific absolute position. But relative means with respect to the current position, if you move forward or back, it is a relative. Even in case of paths also, absolute means shifting the whole to the absolute path. Relative means with respect to the current path, if you move forward or backward, it is a relative path. In the same way, here also absolute means shifting the pointer or shifting the position to the specific position. Now, if you go for absolute of 3 means the control will go to the third position. The pointer will go to the third position. Relative means from the current position, it will move one step forward. But at the time of calling X, what is the position? Fourth. So from fourth it will print. Negative. Positive is forward, negative is backward.
Is absolute of -3.
No, absolute of something will go to the specific position. Let's select we are at third position. You have to scroll to the second relative of -1. Or we can directly go to absolute of 2 so that it will go backward. From third position, if we go for absolute of 2, what happens? It will go backward. Okay? So we are discussing forward, then we'll discuss the backward also, but yes. Now, if you see here, so it's going to 600 and 100. The last two records are being printed. 600 and 100. Just see here. This is the record that is displayed. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 100. So the last two records, 600 and 100. By default, absolute of 3 means it will go to this position. Again, what we are doing? It will go to 400. Again, what we are doing? Relative of 1. That means one step forward. So 500. That means from this position, 600 and 100 are printed. So here it is printing 600 and 100. Understood? Now, if I go for relative of -2, that means from this, because of the by default will be here, because of absolute it has come here, and if you go for relative of -2 from here, it will go here. So the first record will not be printed, the remaining 5 records will be printed. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will be printed. Okay, like that it will be. So we can move back or forth using absolute and relative. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. These 5 records are being printed. Just because first I am there at the first position, and because of absolute of 3, it is moved to the third position. And because of relative of -2, it's going to the first position. Okay? It's going to the first position, and after first, it will printing all the elements. Understood? That's how it will behave. And we can move directly to the first position. We don't know what is the first position and what is the last position. Okay? So, wherever we are, if we want to directly move to the first position, we can directly go for let's consider like I have iterated the elements. I can move the iterator pointer to the ResultSet pointer to the first position. Okay? Now let me see. Execute the application. It's executing 200 to the last records. Okay? Now what I'll do is I'll execute this once again. Otherwise I'll print them in the same line so that it can be understood better. Otherwise I'll order by means order by a specific column. Do all of you know order by? Yes. Order by person_id. So that all the records will be ordered by person ID, and I'm iterating twice. I'm iterating the file loop twice, and let me print the values. Separated by colon. Just I am printing in the same statement so that it will be better visible. Separated by columns. Okay. Now what I am doing is just I am iterating the while loop twice. Okay, I'm iterating the while loop twice. Okay, now let us see what happens. How many times the records are being printed? Once or twice? Only once. Why these are printed only once means? Okay, at the end of the while loop, at the end of the first while loop, what happens? Let's consider that. It's first I am entering 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Okay, and at the starting of the while loop, the pointer, the resultant pointer will be before the first position. Okay, and then because of while loop, what I am doing, I am checking whether the elements exist or not. Okay, whether the elements exist or not. If the element exists, then I am going to the while loop. I am fetching the records. Okay. Now at the end of the while loop, what happens? Pointer will come here. Okay, understood? So let's consider like at the first iteration, pointer is here. Next method will return true just because there are records. Okay, and if you fetch the first record, and the pointer will be in the first position. Okay, and it will check whether the records are there or not because of next. And we will go into the while loop and fetch the records and whether in the second position. Okay, like that it will iterate all the nodes, and after the last execution, the pointer will be here. Understood? Understood or not? Yes? Understood? If you understood, just tell yes. If you don't understand, tell no. Okay? If there is nothing to be you need not to hide yourself. If you understood the concept, tell yes. Otherwise, tell no. If you tell yes, I can tell the concept once again so that you can understand it better. Whether you understood or not. No? So, let's consider like there are records. We have fetched some records. And all the records are there in the result set. Understood this? Okay? Now, by default, the result set will maintain a pointer. A result set pointer. Okay? And the result set pointer will be there before the first position. Okay? And what we are doing, we are executing a while loop here. Here we are executing a while loop. Okay? Where we are going for rs dot next. Okay? And what the next method will do means, it will check after the pointer, are there any elements? Are there any elements after the pointer? Yes or no? Yes. So, it will return true. If it returns true, what happens? It will go into the while loop and it will fetch the record. Okay? And while fetching the record, what happens? The resultant pointer will be moved to the next position. Okay? Again, this condition will be repeated in the next iteration. Next. Now, where the iteration pointer is, where the resultant pointer is, it's at the first position. Now, after the first position, are there any elements? Are there any elements after the first position? Yes. So it will return true and it will go inside this while loop and it will execute this statement, and again the pointer will be moved to the next position. So like that the iterator pointer, the resultant pointer will be moved to the last position if it is if it has iterated all the records. This resultant has 6 records. After iterating or after fetching all the 6 records from the resultant, the pointer will be at the last position. Now, what I am doing, using the same result set, I am executing next. Now, for this while loop, next method will it return true or false?
False.
False. Just because where is the pointer? 6th position. After the 6th position, are there any elements? No. Since there are no elements after the 6th position, still the resultant pointer is at the 6th position. After the first while loop, the resultant pointer will be at the 6th position. Since it is at the 6th position, at the last position, there are no records after that position. And if I execute this while loop once again, what happens? rs.next method will be executed. Next method will return true or false here? False. Just because there are no records after this position. Understood? Yes? Now, what I'll do is, before executing this while loop, I'll make rs dot first. Then let us see what happens. Now, in the first iteration, how many records are iterated? 100, 200 to 600. And after iterating all the records, it is in the first value. Okay, let me build some star before, so that we can understand better. So that it will be a separator between those while loops. Let's compile, go to the classes, execute the application. So, because of the first while loop, all the 6 records from the table are being iterated, and I am putting star. And because of the second while loop, how many records are being iterated? Only 5. Only the last 5 records are being iterated. But where is the first record? Why it is iterating the first 5 records? Just because we are moving the iterator pointer to the we are moving the result set pointer to the first position. First method will move the pointer to the first position. So now it is here. It will move the pointer to the first position. So after this pointer, all the records will be iterated. Understand? So after this position, after 100, all the records will be iterated. Now, if you want to iterate all the records once again, then what I need to do is, I need to move the result set pointer to before first. If you make it before first, then this pointer will become before first. So it will fetch all the records. Okay? Understood? So if I make before first and compile and execute the application, so it's fetching all the records. Understood? Like before first and first, we have last and after last. Like before first and first, we have event rs dot last and rs dot after last. After last means after the last. So that if you want to go reverse, after last minus 1 means last. There. Like before first and first, we have the same thing in the reverse direction we can achieve using after last and last. Sorry. Yeah, what's the dot?
I'm asking that when the pointer is at the last position and going to print all of the data, then you have to move the pointer to the first position and then only you can print it. You can't print the data in the reverse direction.
Yes.
From wherever the pointer is from that below is regular.
But what happens is, if you go for after last, then it will be helpful to make a relative pointer. Now, let me iterate the elements, and after iterating the elements, what I'll do is, I'll go to the specific position, third record. Okay. What I'll do is, I'll set the values. What is the value of the third position? If I order by person ID, third position is Prasad. Okay, now what I'll do is, at the third position, in the second column, I'm changing the value to Srinath. Okay, and just I'm making as executing the method update row. Okay. What I'm doing is, now I'm there at the third position, absolute of 3 means at the third position. In the third position, now in the third position means this is the third position, 300 Prasad and 25. In the third position, in the second column, what is the second column? Person name. Then it represents this column, the highlighted Prasad. So, what I am doing in the third position, the second column value I am changing to Srinath. Let us see what happens. And we are executing update row. Okay? Understood? What we have done? In the third column, in the third row, in the third record, in the second column we are updating the name from Prasad to Srinath. Okay, this is the third row. In the third row, in the second column, we are updating the value of the column. We are updating the value of the column in that particular row. In the third row, we are updating the value in the second column to Srinath. Okay, so let us see what happens. Did I compile? So compile this. Set string. It's update string, not set string. Just make it update string. Make it update string. In the third record, in the second column, we are updating the value to Srinath. Okay. Now let me try to go to the classes, execute the application. So what we have done? We have iterated the rows, and in the third row, in the second column, I declared the value as Prasad. Okay. Now let us see. What is the value now? How it has been updated? Using the result set. Just to update the value, what we'll do is just go for the specific position, either by using absolute or relative or first or last or before first or after last. Whatever the method that we use, go to the specific position that we want. After going to the specific position, just execute update methods and execute update row. Understood? Now if you want to update both the values, age and name, I'll make it back to Prasad. So now it is Srinath. Third row, second column, the value is Srinath. Now I'll make back to Prasad. Okay? So, and the third column value is 19. So, in the third row, I'm going to the third row, I'm switching to the third row. After switching to the third row, I'm making the second column value as Srinath, third column value as 19. So the name will be changed back to Prasad. And now what happens? The name is in the third row, second column is Srinath, age is 25. Now from Srinath the value will be changed to Prasad and the age will be changed to 19. Okay? So the compile, update string, sorry, it is update int. Just because 19 is integer, so we should execute update int. Let's compile, go to the classes, execute the application. Okay? Now let me see here. Now what is the value in the 300? Second column value is Prasad, third column value is 19. It has been updated using the result set. Understood? That's how it will behave. That's how the updatable result set will be used to update the existing row, existing record. This is how the updatable result set can be used to modify the existing record. We'll take a short break, and after coming from the break we shall see how to insert the record and how to delete the record using a updatable result set. Okay?